Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this January 14th version of AM Live on EOA, your connection to Eastern Oregon. All of our content can be found at eoa.network. That's a URL that will take you to our link tree. You can find all of the locations where our stuff is distributed. And here in just a little bit, we are going to have EOU's marketing director, Justin Montgomery. He's going to be talking to us about something really interesting. This is going to be the first of a two-part series talking about AI. And he's kind of geared himself up as a local expert, and the conversation will be very interesting, trust me. So, how are you, man?
AI, yeah.
It's the rave everywhere,
Yeah.
man.
Well, I mean, in certain circles.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
you see it on marketing.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, now there's an AI button on every app, every.
It's crazy. The phone automatically comes with
Yeah.
it all loaded into your phone. Like
Yeah,
when I got my new
everybody's
phone.
rushing, Google and Amazon, and everybody's rushing to have some kind of an
Just another
app
way
on your
to make
device.
Americans lazier.
Yeah, we'll spend some time talking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really like even I have like figured out a way to make myself a little lazier by using it. Like
No, I
for
know. I
certain
did
things.
I did a post. I did an ad for us not too long ago and put in a little bit of verbiage, and then it like, do you want to know the AI alternative? And I clicked the button. It's like, well, that sounds pretty dang good.
Yeah, I have yet to use it for any of.
Yeah.
My sponsors for the sports show, I don't use it for what I say about you guys. I promise you that. You can backtrack AI. Like for verbiage, like you can take it and you can copy it and you can put it into a website online and it'll tell you if it's AI or not. Like, and it'll get like really like 99%.
So I wonder what,
right.
I mean, I wonder if you could get, and we'll have to ask Justin these questions. If you could get one AI to judge another AI's job.
Well, that's what this is doing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you take the written AI, right, and you copy and paste it into this website online, it's AI telling you whether or not it's AI. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You could probably do a never-ending, like, hey, did this AI make sure, you know what I mean? It would be never-ending. You could keep plugging it in and saying, well, were they right?
You could just see somebody doing that in a loop, and like the whole,
That'd be a good
everything's
comic.
bogging down. There's a movie plot right there. Yeah. Everything's coming to a halt.
The machine. That's
so, all righty. Well, hey, you want to do sports?
Let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Step into comfort with the Flex Steel Z-Cliner. Whether reading, resting, or relaxing, this chair gives you the support you need. Find it at Northwest Furniture and Mattress and feel the difference. LHS Baseball put on the Pepsi Shootout this weekend in LeGrand. 54 teams participating, 4th to 8th grade, boys and girls. 4 local teams walked away with championships. Union County Select won the 4th grade girls division. The LeGrand Legends won the 5th grade boys division. The Imbler girls won the 8th grade girls division. And Crash Out Elite from LeGrand won the 8th grade boys division. So congratulations to all those young hoopers. We need to really focus on building these feeder programs right now because we're struggling in some sports at the high school level. And one of the ways you really maintain that is by keeping these, younger kids involved and alive. The senior class this year at LHS is hurting, man. They got I want to say six football players, six varsity football players were seniors this year. The least I'd ever seen before that was 19. That's a problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we really have to focus on, really feeding these feeder programs, and I hate to say that, but that's how it works. There's 2 things that really are key in developing these young athletes into high school athletes, and it's the feeder programs and it's the parents. Believe it or not, the parents have to be involved. Otherwise it just doesn't happen, because unfortunately in this day and age, these younger kids' sports are super expensive and kids can't pay for that themselves, so the parents have to be a part of that. LHS Boys Wrestling hosted Pendleton on Friday night up at the high school. I was there. It was awesome. We dominated Pendleton, just dominated them, 42-21 in our first special district duel of the year. That we even forfeited 195. Clell had a wrestler out for 195, and I kept looking at him. I didn't recognize him. I'm like, who is this guy sitting in the 195 chair? Because they sit him in chairs, across from each other in a duel. And I never figured out who he was, but A, I can tell you, he looked like he was about 14. And B, he looked like he weighed about 170 pounds, sitting in the 195 chair. So Clell forfeited 195, which we were up by enough that weight didn't matter at that time. There's 2 matches left after 195, and we had already sealed the deal. So I'm assuming that Clell probably just didn't put that kid out there because, that would have been a pretty intimidating first varsity match. Going out at 170, you're like a freshman and you're out there, you're like, this 195-pound senior just grabs you and slaps you around like a little, it wouldn't have been good. So we forfeited 195 and still dominated that match. It was awesome. LHS girls wrestling team won another tournament this weekend, taking the 8th annual Jaybird Memorial. LeGrand finished with 5 individual placers, including 2 individual champions. Paige Allen was the champ again at 145. And Maddie Armstrong brought home a championship at 185, which is awesome. It was so good to see her win a championship. She's been second a few times. I think she might have won like a small tournament, but this was a big tournament. There was like 60 teams there, and it was really good to see Maddie bring home a championship. The other placers, Kirsten Azure, 6th at 107. Lindy Isaacson got 2nd at 120. And Macy, here's that name I always mess up. Irmk.
Is that it?
Yeah, I don't know how to say it. And I've never asked her. I should just go up to her and ask her, but I'm like, it's weird. It's always awkward to like go up to somebody hey, how do you say your name? Like, I'm always afraid I'm going to creep them out. I guess if I walk with the camera like this, you know what I mean? Like show it to them. But she got 5th at 235. EOU men's and women's basketball went up north this weekend. They both easily won both of their games. That's usually a fairly easy trip in basketball when you go up and play Evergreen State in Northwest. They haven't been super competitive the last few years, so that was good. The women's basketball teams won 6 in a row, which is awesome. They started out the season a little bit rough. They both host Multnomah and Warner Pack this weekend, and for his efforts, congratulations to TJ Doman from the EOU men's basketball team. He was the CCC Defensive Player of the Week, which is awesome. That's the AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Big Red Rocking Chair on Elm off Adams in LeGrand.
All right, good stuff. Shout out to my granddaughter, Briar Whitty. She was in that 4th grade picture.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Nobody said anything. That 4th grade wasn't listed on anything. So I think maybe a parent might have got one over on me there.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if it was an actual part of the tournament. I think, but so I posted it without the 4th graders, and then some parent, of course, like within 5 minutes, messages coming in like, no, there was a 4th grade.
I saw that flood come in. Yeah,
and I'm like, hey, I got all the information from the people that ran the tournament, and there was no 4th grade brackets.
Well, I can tell you that as a grandparent, I barely knew. I didn't know anything about it, so I'm not sure communication was like.
Yeah, I don't think they actually played a 4th grade tournament.
Oh, and it might not have been.
I think they might have got it like because there wasn't enough teams. They just threw them up into the 5th grade and said, you guys win a championship in the 4th grade, and you're going to play in the 5th grade. But I don't know exactly how it works, but it doesn't matter. It's one extra picture and like 20 seconds to add in. The 4th graders
some
too,
verbiage.
So no big deal.
Good stuff. All right, man. Well, hey, let's look out. Let's look at the outside. Man, it's just a weird winter, and
it was cold though.
It was cold. There was a little bit of ice on my windshield this morning. Yep. Let's look at that graphic, Bennett. And yep. So down to 25 tonight, and it looks like that's kind of what it's going to be. It looks like we might have some sunshine next 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, and then partly cloudy, but not much moisture. We're still pretty dry. So, yep. All righty. Okay. Well, hey, excited to have. We'll be back in just a minute with Justin Montgomery. He's going to be talking to us about the development of AI and how that is affecting us. And this is the beginning of This is the first of a 2-part series, and I know that you'll enjoy it. So we'll see you soon.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
Right off.
All right. We're going to start on me, Benny. Welcome back, and in just a second here, we're going to bring on Justin Montgomery, and he's going to talk a little bit about AI. But right now, I'm going to tell you about Coffee for a Cause. They're raising money for Deputy Dan Johnson of the Union County Sheriff. So all day today at Antlers Espresso, 100% of their proceeds is going to Dan and his family. So go support that. It doesn't matter if you drink coffee or not. Go get a tea, go get whatever. Go support this great cause. He's a local deputy. Last summer, he was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. He's undergoing treatment, and the doctors are hopeful. They just want people to join together as a community and kind of like what we did with the McKinley family. Let's just come together and help this out as much as possible.
Good. And Antlers has 2 locations, one in front of the pizza place on Island Avenue, and
Yep.
then one right there.
On Washington.
Yeah. So, all right. Hey, how are you, Justin?
Doing great. How about yourself, Brent?
Good. Hey, thanks for jumping in with us. And we've all been acquaintances for a while, business associates, and EOU does advertising with us, and we support the stuff that you guys have done and the support that you've done for Shrine in the past, and so, but this is a little bit of a different interaction because you actually came and presented to La Grande Rotary, which I am the president of right now, and talked to us about AI. And it was just such an interesting conversation that I said, like, hey, you should come on the morning show and talk to us about this. And so, I don't know, how did you get into this? You and I were talking a little bit offline about this before, but how did you kind of begin this journey?
Sure. So began the journey really with my background in digital marketing. So artificial intelligence has been part of digital marketing for, I don't know, quite a while, right? But it hasn't been it's been very specific, right? So it was get more likes on Facebook, or make this person's YouTube channel, align with what they want to watch, right?
Okay.
But it was really in 2023 when ChatGPT they started adding integrations into 3.5 and 4, where you could upload documents, search the internet, those types of things. It became more generative, more general, that I started diving into it. And I spent about a month just using the system as much as I possibly could. I mean, it was even to the point where I was getting up at 3 a.m. to kind of beat the rush in the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah, so...
Because it bogs down, or?
Well, originally what they did was because it costs so much money and when you're sending in a query, or you're asking a question, there's a cost associated with that. So they limited your window to how often you could do that.
Okay.
Even with the paid version initially, I mean, I could, I think, do 30 queries in an hour or something along those lines. And I noticed that the later that you did it, or the earlier that you did it in the morning, you had more opportunity. There was a little bit more of a window.
Okay.
So
Makes sense.
So define, and I know that you have some slides you're going to show us and stuff. Define a little bit of the difference between algorithms and artificial intelligence. And is it kind of the same thing, or is that a progression of,
So really, I mean, algorithms are part of artificial intelligence. They're kind of the foundation of it. There's different types of algorithms. You've got search algorithms, recursive algorithms, things like that. Ultimately, what it is the algorithms learn over time to give you the information that you're seeking, right? So I don't know. We can cut to one of the
Yeah, no, why don't you
slides.
kind of roll us into some slides here? So
Sure.
Yeah.
So generally, kind of, you got three. There's two different types of artificial intelligence, and I say artificial intelligence in quotes because it's really a simulation of intelligence. It's not currently. It's not a system that mirrors or mimics human intelligence well. It mirrors pieces of human intelligence, right? So originally, you had kind of the narrow AI that was basically just it was just a system that accomplished one single goal. Now with generative AI, specifically large language models, you've got a system that can do multiple things with multiple types of content, right? So, and the way the system works generally, I mean, this is a high level, kind of a high level explanation, is you have a data set, right? And that data set typically has been scraped from the internet, plus other documents and books and digital content. That data set is then, you have a transformer architecture, right? That basically takes your query, your text, right? What is a fish? Transforms it into a token that the neural network can understand, and then it looks at the entire data set and gives a statistical. It basically gives it does a statistical analysis and gives you kind of statistically what word should come next, right? So it's not really giving you an intelligent response, it's giving you a statistical response.
So what is the most likely? Yeah, no. So
Yeah.
statistically, what's the most likely progression that there is mathematically?
Correct.
Calculating. Okay.
Right. What is the most likely word that should come next?
Okay.
In relation to the response. Now, there's a lot of math, and there's a lot that goes into that. But generally, at a base level, that's how that works.
Okay.
And then over time, based upon your input, right? Your input is training that model, and it gets better and better at giving you the answers that you're looking for, right? And so you can do some pre-training. That's one of the things. ChatGPT is GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, right? So there's pre-training with that data set, but you can also do a little bit of pre-training yourself by creating GPTs that you upload and ask it to do more specific things, right? So you can upload. I just did one yesterday. We're doing a marketing audit at the university, and I uploaded criteria into it. And so now when I upload content and tell it to review it, it looks at the content in relation to that criteria that I've told it to look at. So
That's crazy.
it's getting up there. It's
And
getting
so
kinda
does that?
nuts.
So like in that particular case, does it tell you? No, what it is you're doing doesn't really meet the goals that you stated that you want. I mean,
Yeah, and it gives.
but it has that ability.
It has that ability, yeah.
Yeah.
And it also can give you recommendations for how to make changes or move forward or optimize things.
Huh.
So that currently, there's a lot to unpack there too when it comes to some of the issues that are that come about because of generative AI. So one of the major issues is the generative AI produces hallucinations, right? So it gets stuff wrong, right? And the reason sometimes it gets stuff wrong.
No, that's interesting. So when it does an error, it's called a hallucination.
It's called a hallucination.
Okay, interesting. All right.
And the reason why part of the reason why it produces a hallucination is because generative AI has to give an answer, right? So that doesn't sound like a big thing, but think about it this way. If, I was asking Dotsy, like, what's the score of a baseball game that never happened, right? And you have to give me an answer,
Well, I would think about like what teams are playing and what their chances are of scoring runs against what pitcher, and probably exactly what that thing does.
It could
On a
do
different
that
level.
on a different level, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you'd have to give me an answer, and the game never existed. So, what would the score be? Well, you'd have to make it up.
Let's say 3-2.
32. There you go. You just made it up. That's kind of the same thing that happens with these.
Gotcha.
That's why if it doesn't have the context or the information, it will typically produce an answer that's wrong or weird or out there sometimes. But it's not often, and there's ways of getting around that, right? There's ways of mitigating that. Some of the other issues.
So does it tell you, like, hey, I'm not sure I have enough data to do this, but this is a guess? Does it tell you that, or do you have to kind of surmise that?
You kind of have to surmise that.
Okay.
And that's one of the dangers with using these for research or using these for using the level, the 4.0 for research and things like that, is because it could make something up and you wouldn't know because you're trying to find out more information. So
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know. So, how the heck would you know if it's lying to you or not?
Exactly. So one of the things that many of the leaders in these for companies that are building these models, they call it a post-truth era, right? And basically, what it is when you're asking generative AI to do something, you also have to have the critical thinking skills to be able to go and ask, is it right? And then figure out how to find the information. It's not so much of an issue when you're asking, hey, what's the color of this bottle, right? It's more when you're trying to do strategy for your business, or there's money on the line, or you're producing content, right, for a company, right, that you might be saying something about the company that isn't true,
Right.
but you don't know because you're not in that nuance, or you're not in the weeds with the company.
Right. So it's a little bit like, when I was doing math, as I was, somewhere in junior high or whatever. I mean, somewhere or along the way, you learned estimating.
Yes.
Because you look at a string of numbers and you go, and then you add it up, but you had some idea of that if the number that came up out of the calculator was way wonky to what you estimated, then something little flag would go off. It's
Exactly.
like, yeah, that's not okay. So that's kind of it. So at this point, it's still depending on you to have some kind of an idea of what the answer might be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having some kind of context or basic understanding of what the answer might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the other interesting parts of this are the ethics of AI. This really touches on the ethics of AI. Is there's a difference between a closed model and an open model, right? So a closed model, you don't get to see into the system, which allows bias to be introduced into the system, right? So somebody somewhere is making a choice about the information, the weights, the inference, the attenuation. All of these things are points in the answer that you're being given where a person or a company or somebody, a group can influence the information that comes out. One of the big examples was Google's Gemini, and you could probably Google this, where Google Gemini Google as a company didn't want the AI model to produce offensive things, and it wanted to be inclusive of race, gender, right? What happened was when someone asked it to produce an image of a Nazi, it produced an Asian Nazi, a black Nazi. Yeah,
Goodness gracious.
and yeah, you can find that on the internet, right? So that's something where if somebody had no context around what a Nazi was, right, you would see that you might assume that was the case.
Yeah, you go up to do a presentation, you have no context of a Nazi, and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, the Nazis, and you pull up a picture, and there's all these different colored, all these different races of Nazis, and people are like,
Right.
What's this guy talking about?
Exactly, and that was a human choice, right? Someone made that decision at the company.
And that's on a closed model.
That's a closed
That's
model.
when you say closed and open, you mean like closed, like the general public can't see inside of how it works. But
Exactly.
open means that anybody can look and see inside of how it works.
Yeah, that's the goal with an open model is you can see the data set, you can see the weights, you can see better, you have more clarity into the system. Now, the issue there's a trade-off there though. With a closed model, they tend to be more powerful and they tend to be smarter, right? Because they just tend to be that way.
Now, is that because people don't want to give their secrets away?
That's exactly what it
Okay,
is.
I got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
because all these models, this is where they it's the foundation for the revenue for these companies, right?
Yeah.
So whereas an open model like Facebook's Meta AI, they're following a different business plan, a different business model that is pretty common in tech, where you have a closed system, right? A closed platform or whatever it is. In order to gain market share, other companies that are in the same vertical will open up everything, right? So they can it dilutes the market share, right? So that's part of the reason why you're seeing companies like Google, ChatGPT releasing products so quickly, is because they're trying to stay ahead of that
Gotcha.
that dilution.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of the other thing that these companies are working towards, right? So generative AI is really a step towards that super intelligent AI. So they're trying to create artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence, and that's a true thinking machine. But that doesn't exist yet, and it might happen next year. It might happen 1,000 years. It might never happen, right? So that's where you start getting into the, hey, robot machine, make me a sandwich and do my taxes. And yeah.
That's the kind of AI that scares me.
So a question: Has the second step of this AI, has it been hanging out there for a while and has been available, but nobody had the courage to release it, and somebody then finally popped the bubble, and then because it seemed like it just came all at once.
Yeah, so artificial intelligence as we know it, so this generative intelligence really kind of throws back to post-World War II with Alan Turing. He created a model, they call it it was a test, it was a Turing test. If you put somebody in a room and you had a computer and a person, the computer would be considered intelligent if the person didn't know that was a computer on the other side of the window. That's the basis of it, right? So AI has been kind of moving in fits and starts since then, but it really over in the last 20 years with Google DeepMind and their deep learning algorithms has really started moving towards this generative intelligence. But yeah, 2023, so they released 3.5 in 2020, I don't remember, 2021, 2022. No, they released it in like 2020. I don't remember. OpenAI released it.
COVID era. You can just say COVID era.
COVID era. Right.
It encapsulated all that BS from that whole.
Yes, you're right. That whole strange time.
COVID era.
COVID era. But it was really in kind of October, November of 2023 that they flipped the switch and they started releasing these models that could interact multimodally, so with multiple different types of content and produce multiple outputs. So it has been fairly fast, and that's the thing about these types of systems is they're effectively a digital system that's based upon computers. They can be scaled exponentially. So as these things as these systems improve, they're going to improve faster and faster and faster and faster, and companies are incentivized to integrate them faster and faster and faster and faster. You were talking earlier about, now there's a button on every platform, and
Pretty much.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, and that's only going to continue, right? There's no kind of how these systems work is they may run up against a roadblock on data, right? So a lot of the companies are saying right now they've actually run out of information to train the models on because they're training faster than people can produce new data, right? But that doesn't mean, but that doesn't mean that the models can't be improved. It just means that, one, we need more data. Two, the AI is actually going to be currently creating its own data sets. NVIDIA just talked the other day about their synthetic data training set for automated cars. It basically just creates a world for the AI to navigate the car through, and then gives it multiple
experience.
variations.
Yeah, like a dog will run out, it'll
Right.
make a dog run out in front of the car or whatever. All different.
Exactly. And so
They do that in video games too. Some like really high end video games now have that what's that? What'd you call it?
synthetic data.
Synthetic data. Yeah.
Well, you can actually there's an algorithm, or there's a system out there right now that can create Doom in real time, the video game Doom in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
it's creating its own video games in its own world. So you can play a video game that's being created in real
As
time.
it goes. Yeah, that's what I was talking. There's a couple of them, and it's getting out of hand. Like people are playing it like VR, like they're in like real life. Like
Well,
it's like,
and the thing I've noticed about the buttons showing up on stuff, so like Acrobat Reader, is it Acrobat?
Acrobat, yeah.
Yeah. So Acrobat Reader now has an AI button, and it's like, I just want to read the PDF. I don't. I don't really. I don't need you. Yeah. And so it's like there's nothing artificial about this that I need.
Yeah.
But is that because they're? I mean, I'm trying to understand that from a marketing standpoint. What is the advantage to Adobe to have a button now on my Acrobat Reader?
Some of it is just the fact
we're
that
cool.
What's that?
To say, hey, we're cool.
Yeah.
We're up with it. Yeah.
Some of it is that they just have to, like they're feeding that's feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
Some of it is people don't like to read, and
Yeah.
they summarize it, and it's
Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay.
some of it is especially when your time is constrained. Like you don't have time to read a full report. You just
Right.
want the key dates, key information, key points from that report.
Yeah.
Right. Which is interesting because if you go back to the hallucination portion, how do you know that it's giving you the key information, right?
Right.
So, but part of that is that, yes, it's because everyone else is doing it,
Right.
but also these aren't, there's not dumb people behind the scenes.
Of course,
You
yeah,
know,
right.
They're
Yeah.
looking at this as, how is this generating revenue and for the company?
Now, is part of that also that if you use their AI, now they have that data
Yes.
it's part of the data that they're scraping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime that you're entering information into an AI system, I won't say anytime, but for the most part, that data is then in part of the training data set for that, right? So there's a great saying out there, I didn't coin it, but somebody else said, Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter because he wanted a social media platform.
No.
He bought Twitter because it's a data farm, and it's probably the most valuable. It's more valuable than oil if AI goes the route that it's projected to go.
Interesting. Wow.
Right.
that's why Elon's about to buy TikTok too.
Yeah.
Well, there's a deal on the table right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So these social media platforms are, I mean, they've always been data farms. They've always monetized using data, right?
Right.
When they sell that, typically they would sell that data to marketing companies and advertisers, right? That
Yeah.
was primarily how they monetized. Now it's, you're giving them, your data has gotten more valuable, and they're now using it to train their own AI systems that they can then leverage for other things, right? So the Department of Defense is getting in the AI business. The major companies are getting in the AI business. So these systems are, well, I mean, depending on who you ask, they're going to generate a lot of money for companies.
So it's like that. What was that movie, Minority Report? You know, years ago, where it's like what is the chances of somebody doing a crime? You know,
Yeah.
and arresting them ahead of time. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you are charged with murder that you didn't commit, but yeah.
But there's a 87% chance that
But
you're going to. So
but
we're
the
gonna
point.
get you.
But if you were, you know, but again, if you're law enforcement, you have limited resources, whatever the case might be. All of a sudden, you have more resources than what you had before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's,
Unconstitutional in the United States, though.
What's that?
It's unconstitutional in the United States to use that kind of information as a
Against
law.
somebody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think. I mean, that's another thing. Like, how do we, when you talk about being ethical and constitutional, like, where do you draw the line with AI?
Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, again, that's where like those questions are being currently asked right now. And the technology is moving a lot faster than some of that regulation, or even some of the questions that can be asked, right? Sometimes we don't even know the questions that can be asked. So there was I can't remember who it was, one of the company CEOs said, the federal government hasn't even regulated the internet yet, right? So how do we expect it to come up with regulations to help with a system that, you know, is changing every second, like daily, literally it's changing every second. Every time someone uses it, the model changes, right? Or the model is trained and gets better or optimized. So,
Well, hey, do you want to take us back to your slides,
sure.
or did we kind of cover some of those things?
Well, yeah, we did. I mean, there was kind of there's a slide that I pulled up as two sayings
Yeah.
that really kind of capture, I think, where most people are at. One is Horace Rackman. He was Henry Ford's lawyer, and he didn't really believe in cars. And he said, the horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad.
I've seen that quote before. Yeah, I've seen that quote.
So even people that are in the systems, that are in the companies, may not believe that this is here to stay or here to last. It's probably one of the most world-changing human inventions that people have ever made. The other thing is Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI. He said, these are the stupidest the models will ever be. So that's a powerful statement, because think about jets, right? We went from an airplane, think about airplanes. We went from an airplane that was made out of paper and wood to a super...
1907.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
707 in,
Yeah.
what, 60 years, 80 years, 100 years? These models are only going to get better and better and better, faster and faster and faster.
Well, yeah, as the model figures out how to add more information itself, and plus people adding information to it, it doesn't ever lose information,
Right.
right? So, I mean, it just builds.
Well, those are some of the questions, though, right? I don't know if it ever loses data or information.
Yeah, I wonder if it
in
does.
closed models. Like, do they delete things? Do they go back and fix errors? Do they go back? We don't know. That's part of the issue with a closed model. So,
Weird.
but you'd asked earlier about a demonstration.
Yeah.
So-
So kind of give us, so in the next episode, we're going to kind of delve into more active demonstration, but I wanted you to kind of give us a little bit of an idea of
Peak.
a peek of what's available. Yeah.
Sure, we'll give you a sneak peek. Let's see if she comes online. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Justin. I can hear you loud and clear. How can I help you today?
So we're here with Brent Clapp and Dodsey. We're talking about you. So say hi.
Hello, Brent and Dodsey. It's great to be here with you. Justin, what can I help you all with today?
So help me understand how you work. Yeah.
Sure. Great. Feel free to ask any questions. Do my best to help. What would you like to know more about?
I'd like to know about your foundations, how you work.
Sure. I work by processing and analyzing the information you provide. Built on a large language model, which means I'm trained on a diverse range of text data to understand and generate human-like responses. This allows me to help with a variety of topics, from providing information to offering recommendations or brainstorming ideas. My responses are based on patterns and knowledge from the data I own. What specific aspects are you interested in learning more about?
Well, I'd like for you to give me a translation on how to make a cheeseburger, but do it in Russian.
Sure. Here's how to make a cheeseburger in Russian. Переготовьте ингредиенты. Вам понадобится говяжий фарш, булочка для гамбургера, соленые огурцы и соусы по вкусу. 2. Сформируйте котлету. Обжарьте котлету. Сжарите котлету до готовности. 4. Подготовьте булочку. Разрежьте булочку пополам и поджарьте ее.
Well, I appreciate that. We appreciate you taking the time to come and, tell us how to make a cheeseburger in Russian. We'll see you next week when we talk, and we're going to talk more.
You're welcome.
So that's a perfect
Absolutely.
example of when you talk about like we don't know unless you speak Russian, you don't know if she could have just been going. You know what I mean? That's the example like of when you were talking about how there's that possibility of like it's like some diving into something. Like I wouldn't take that and put it in front of a bunch of Russian people. I don't trust it enough. You know, what I mean? You probably would because you've worked with it. You know, but like I wouldn't say, hey. I got to tell these Russian people how to make a cheeseburger. I'm relying on. No, I'm going to look it up. Still, I'm not. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, there's some actual technology that's being built on this. So it's a headset that you can put on and give to somebody else, and you can have a conversation with them if they don't speak. So
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Well, you can do it with new phones too. Yeah, it's built right in.
it's built right in.
It's crazy.
So
Yeah, it'll translate for you in the phone.
What are some, as you've kind of gone through this, is there any part of this that's like, wow, that's scary? That is,
There has to be,
I mean,
right?
there's been some things that like have just really unnerved you.
So none of the stuff has really unnerved me. The thing that really unnerves me is this, we're in a transitory period. So I can't remember who said it. I'll have to look it up. Smart aligned AI, so aligned with people and our goals, is not the dangerous system. Dumb AI that is sent to do a task or is optimizing for some outcome is the danger. And we're right at that area where we've created the technology that's smart enough to do things, but dumb enough to do the exact thing we asked them, right? So what I mean by that is it's an analogy or a metaphor that they use. It's the paperclip conundrum, right? So if you tell an AI system to make or optimize to make paperclips, it'll turn the entire world into paperclips, people into paperclips, the universe into paperclips, right?
Right.
That's an exaggeration, but that's what dumb AI can. That's what
Right.
just smart enough AI can do, right? So that and bad actors can use these systems to generate content that's not real, right? Donald Trump, our president, I don't know, acting drunk on television and
Yeah.
saying that we're going to invade Iran, right? That type of content is now, you can create it now where it's good enough that people will consume it.
Celebrity sex tapes is the other big one right now that everybody's talking about. Like they're popping out like videos of like Taylor Swift doing, and it looks real. Like
Yeah, but I
it's
saw,
crazy.
so when Bronny was being recruited by whoever that team was,
USC.
yeah, and the coach, well, no, so he was coming on to his dad's team, and there was an
Lakers.
AI clip of the coach saying, "Yeah, we didn't really have any choice." He was
Yeah,
gonna leave."
And it looked real.
I didn't know enough about. I mean, I knew about what was happening, but I didn't know enough to know that that wasn't real.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Because it looked very. It looked like it was shot in a locker room, and it was very grainy. I mean, it was not slick. It was,
I used AI to figure out who said that
Oh, good.
on my computer just now.
Yeah.
It was Nick Bostrom.
Nick Bostrom.
Yeah,
Yes.
who that's at. At least that's what AI tells me.
No, it is.
And I don't
yeah.
know well enough to trust it, so we'll rely on you.
Yeah, Nick Bostrom is one
Nick
of the
Bostrom.
yeah, he's one of the leaders in
He's the one
artificial
that said
intelligence.
AI is not dangerous. Dumb AI is the danger.
Yes, Nick Bostrom. And then, yeah, definitely read some of his work. If you want to know more, Nick Bostrom's a great one. Jan LeCun, he's...
I've heard that name in either reading or just watching, mindlessly thumbing through this thing.
Yeah, he's the lead for AI at Facebook. Ilya Sutskever, he's one of the foremost AI thinkers. He just left ChatGPT because of the alignment issue. So AI alignment means how aligned is an AI system with people,
Right.
because that's the next.
Does left and right play into that a little bit too, or is that just straight up people?
It's how the system is aligned with people, right?
Okay.
So, will the AI do the things that we want it to do, and will it not do the things that we don't want it to do?
Yeah, but doesn't that differ between the two sides
Yes,
politically?
it does.
100%, right?
Not just politically, but culturally.
Culture. Yeah. Yes,
nationally.
Yes. Yep.
Right. So
Yeah, like in Mexico, they a woman is of age at 15, and in America it's 18. So those two AIs are going to be different, right? Like, I mean, there has to be.
well, yeah. I mean, just political objectives. Economic objectives. That what it's looking like now is that you're going to have an AI that is the CCP's AI, an AI system in America that'll be the federal government's AI. Nigeria will have an AI,
Okay.
right? And so those systems will be working to optimize towards the nation or the company or the person's objectives, right? And that's where kind of that Nick Bostrom thing or or saying comes in, because not only, so if I am a person and I'm trying to optimize my AI towards my personal, agenda, how does it butt up against yours, right? And again, the next generation of things, the current thing that is being released now are agents. So it's agentic AI that can operate independently or unilaterally based upon my instruction to them, right?
Okay.
So I could say, hey, go create 14 marketing campaigns for, my consulting company, and go find them, implement them. Here's, access to my account. Go do, and it'll go do that, right? So there's who was it? Oh, I can't remember who it was now, man. My names are fleeting. But basically, with agentic AI, you can create a company, right? So Sam Altman said that he predicts within the next year or two that we're going to have $1 billion company that only has one employee, right? Because
Wow.
you can create your agents to go out and do all the things that you need to do, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So one of
Hopefully that one employee is me.
well, that's the opportunity.
Oh, I don't mess around with AI enough to.
But you can create a company structured that has its board of Albert Einstein, Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, right?
Yeah.
There
Like the oversight board.
yeah, that's your board.
Yeah.
And then you create your CEO, you create your AI makers that make your other AI, then you create your security AI that make sure that all of your other AI systems like your marketing, your finance, your operations, all of those are doing what they need to be doing. And then that goes forward, and that's infinitely scalable. Well, not infinitely, it's based upon computer power, but you can scale that out to millions, billions, however much access you have, right? But the
gosh.
right? But the flip side of that's true. You can put the most evil people in charge and tell it to go do something, right? So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, your
It's-
board could be like Hitler, and
It could be quite a yeah.
well, we don't even have to go into there. There's plenty of evil that you could put on there.
So, but that's what's happening now is these systems we're at the level of agents where Claude, so Anthropic AI, you can have it take over your computer and do work for you. Yeah. OpenAI hasn't released its agent level yet. It'll probably come out with O3. Microsoft Copilot has agents in the system, so that one's actually a really cool system where you can be typing up you can have your AI, you can prompt your AI to write a report based upon data that's already in the system. If you have permissions, it'll reach out to that data, populate your report. Then you can say, oh, do a PowerPoint for this, and it'll create the PowerPoint. And oh, I need a spreadsheet for this report, and it'll do all of that, right? So,
I just started seeing Copilot because I held out like as long as possible on Windows 11 because I was afraid like there's like different programs that we use around here that they don't talk right for some reason. So and Copilot will pop up sometimes on my computer and I have no idea. Like I haven't touched. I just close it. Close it.
I think the thing and you understand this really well because you're in this world, but in the area of marketing and creatives, whatever it might be, So I mean, so when me and the staff sit down and we've done this recently, and we sit down and we spitball a commercial for a local company, whatever it might be, and we come up with, I mean, it might take us a couple of hours to come up with 10 ideas. And, because in the meantime, you've come up with 20 and it's like, no, that's stupid. And, and you whittle that down. And that creative process is intense and difficult and hard. But you could type that prompt into AI and it would spit 10 things out for you. 10 things that they're actually pretty good ideas. It's like, well, why didn't we think of that? And then it'll spit that out in seconds.
absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you can do to kind of optimize that process, there's several things that you can do to optimize that process. You could take the data from the company. So say it's, I don't know, I'm giving you some free advice here.
There you go.
I don't know, say Legacy Ford, right?
Yeah.
You can go into Legacy Ford and say, okay, who buys the most, what type of person buys the most cars from you, right? What's their age, what's their demographic, what's their, where are they from, all of that. Then you can take that data set, drop it into ChatGPT or any other system, and you can say, okay, help me develop a marketing plan or a commercial or language that is targeting them directly, right? That's geared towards that demographic. And then give me, 30 give me a full marketing plan for that, that demographic, and it'll tell you, the type of copy to use. It'll tell you the imagery. It'll tell you what platforms to optimize for. It'll tell you, it'll go on and on and on, and you can query it on and on and on.
Right.
And on, right. Or if you want, you could actually have it sitting in the room with you, because now the paid version of ChatGPT actually has access to your camera, and so you can have it sit in the room with you like another person. and you can ask it questions, right? You can
So
say,
it'll project the image of somebody there?
it'll look at your copy, right? You can hold it up to it and say, it'll look at your image. You can hold it up to the camera and say, hey, tell me what you think of this.
Oh, interesting.
It'll do it.
So, but I guess the thing, but I mean, let's take like EOU, for instance, or Grand Round Hospital, or Wood Grain, or whatever, I mean, 10 years ago, you guys that have, I mean, you have production people and some production people, but a lot of creatives. I mean, you create a lot of your own stuff. Well, in the past, you guys would have been in a position where you had to hire somebody like us, or you had to hire a ad agency somewhere. Hey, give us your best advice on all of that is gone. I mean, that's just, so Legacy Ford could do that themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it also goes back to, though, AI is a rocket ship. AI is nitrous oxide for people and companies that already have the capacity to do something, right? So a great example is marketing, or let's just do graphic design, right? A company like, let's say, Wood Grain, you could go to a line production person or one of the, I don't know, whatever, somebody that's on the floor and say, here's artificial intelligence, go make me a commercial, right? You could do that. There's still a learning curve. They would produce something, but they wouldn't know whether it was good or not. They wouldn't know whether it would, what it would appeal to the audience, the demographic. They wouldn't know a lot of, they don't know a lot of the fundamentals.
Right.
And that's not going to teach, this isn't going to teach them the fundamentals. But someone like you or me, in marketing or communications, strategic planning, crisis communications, whatever it may be, now I can use the system to speed things up, optimize the work. If you have to, fill in somewhat, right? It's not going to take the place of a person.
Right.
But it will fill in some of that capacity and mirror some of that, right? So if ChatGPT's in the room, it's not going to be able to make the decision around certain decisions, or it's not going to be able to weigh its output, right?
Right.
Is there any AI systems that'll edit video for you?
There,
Because I hate editing. That's that's my absolute, when I put my show together, I dread editing it, right? Like, it takes a long time. It's just tedious. Have you heard of anything? I mean, there's going to be one day. We all know that.
Yeah. I mean, so most of the stuff that I've looked into for video is generative, so it's generating the content.
Making it.
But I would not doubt. In fact, I mean, I've got the Creative Cloud, and I'll have to go in and look and see if Adobe has
If you
has
hear
integrated
something,
it.
let me know. I'll slap that thing on my computer.
Well, and I think that, when I look at what we do, you still, the thing that has been the most taxing for me in the past sometimes has been coming up with good, authentic, creative ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that whole thing is cheap now, for lack of a better. I mean, it's just there's lots of ways. Still, people still have to have quality photography, quality videography. The lights and the sound and the things that the nuts and bolts that we do well and do regularly. There's still a market for that, but there's more help out there for small businesses or for corporations to do things themselves than what has ever been available.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true, and that's where like some of the consulting work that I do is around. Okay, great. You're going to take an AI system and you're going to build out your capacity. Well, what does that mean, right? And what are you actually doing? And who's regulating it? What data and information are you putting in? Is the information protected information? What are you producing? Is what you're producing actually effective for what you're trying to accomplish, right? Are you taking somebody's job, right? And do you want to do that?
Right. Yeah.
or are you limiting someone's job, right? Because there's ways of going in and doing this. In fact, one of the major recommendations is like you don't replace people with these jobs. You build out their capacity so they generate more revenue, so they're more efficient, right? So they're using the resources that they currently have. So say like in a public administration or governance, right? You're getting more output and from the person with these systems, right? Or from a small business perspective, right? Your employee is now generating more revenue for you. They're making you more money. By getting rid of them, you've lost that revenue line. Okay,
Right.
You're going to save money on the front. You may save money on the front end, right, by not having an employee. But what does that mean? The AI system can't do everything for you currently. And then if you do, and when the agentic systems come out and you can operate them autonomously, are they doing what you want them to do? And do you have enough experience and knowledge to know that they're not out, I don't know, destroying your company? Like, those types of
crazy.
things.
Wow.
So,
Well, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is fascinating. And so then we will look forward to, a week from today.
yes.
No,
2 weeks
2
from
weeks.
today.
2 weeks
So
from
2
today.
weeks from today, we'll have part 2. Is that the 26th or so? I can't remember anyhow. So
That would be the 28th.
28th, yeah. So you'll be with us again, part 2 of this conversation.
Yep.
And we'll dive into more demonstrations, and it's fascinating. So,
Sounds great to me.
hey, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
All right, let's do this. January 14th, 1799. On this day, American inventor Eli Whitney received the government contract to make 10,000 muskets. 1943, on this day, World War II, Franklin D. Roosevelt travels from Miami to Morocco to meet Winston Churchill. He's the first president to travel overseas by airplane. 2019, on this day, Americans' chance of dying of an accidental opioid overdose is higher than a car accident for the first time ever, according to the National Safety Council. 2020, on this day, U.S. game show Jeopardy! Greatest of All Time tournament is won by the greatest of all time, Ken Jennings. On this day, the #1 movie in America in 2005 is Coach Carter. And the quote of the day is about AI, actually. And I'm probably going to kill this guy's name. Oren Etzioni. AI is a tool. The choice about how it gets deployed is ours. One more time. AI is a tool. The choice about how it gets deployed is ours.
All right. Hey, thank you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate you being here. Yeah. So Kevin Rainey from Youth for Christ will be right here with us
Thursday.
on Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah.
See you later.
All right.